good. Unaitwa nani? Shiko. Oh. Very good. Unajua kichwa yangu kunanga hata mtu anashikanga hivyo kwenye nashika shiko. Niko serious. Morning guys, so I'm just coming from the Kenyos to get a very nice fresh cut. But before we say very many things, let's go across the street and buy some tea. Some tea. Niweke hapa kikombe moja weka tu vizuri kama niweke kama jana vile niwekea jana vizuri.
A few moments later.
Come on. What's with the noise? Anyway, good morning guys. Welcome here in Umoja. My name is Dennis Uhuru and welcome to breakfast. So, what is in today's video? We are going to take stock of the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip. We are going to look at how much I spent on it before the trip, to prepare the car, during the trip, and of course after the trip, to do repairs. And what repairs were these exactly? We are also going to look at the highlights of the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip and the downsides, of course. Other than that, I'm also going to give you guys a bit of a life update. We've had progress in the court, so I'm going to tell you guys about that so that you know where we are with the court matters. I'm also going to talk to you about the fact that I'm currently engaged in very hectic house hunting. And because of that, I'm going to give a bit of social commentary on the state of renting houses in Nairobi and why houses are so expensive. That is what is in today's video. But first, let me chew this breakfast and then we can get the video on the road.
More moments later.
Right guys, I've been doing a bit of work and it has occurred to me that we have a respite. So I think we can continue. First things first, I think I want to update you guys on the court matters so that we can be done with that, get it out of the way and talk about everything else. So as you guys are aware, of course, I have two matters in the courts. The first is in the High Court and that proceeds from the small claims court matter, which I won in February of 2025 and which was then of course appealed in the High Court. The appeal has been going on. The latest is that we've already filed final submissions and all that remains is for us to be given a date before the judge. And so then we had a mentioned date to take directions on 3rd of August 2026 in the High Court. And so we appeared in court. The way an appeal proceeds or progresses is that before it can be decided, there are certain documents called the Record of Appeal. It is just a collection of all the files that we filed in the Small Claims Court, which of course the Small Claims Court used to arrive at their determination. So there is no way the High Court can decide on the appeal, can make a determination on the appeal without looking at those files that we filed in the lower court. Of course, the High Court has to look at what this party said in the small claims court and what the other party said, and the decision of the court. As of the mentioned date, which was on 3rd August 2026, the High Court still did not have that file, the record of appeal, and so there was no way we could be given a date before the judge. So for that reason, we've been given another mentioned date on 3rd of November. So we will have another mentioned date in the High Court on 3rd of November. Hopefully on that date, the High Court will have that record of appeal, and hopefully we are able to proceed to the next step. The second matter is the defamation cases. Those of you that have been keeping up with this matter know that we have 2 defamation cases that have been condensed into one matter. So the first was a defamation suit against me because of my video "Who Moved My Cheese," right? And then the second was a defamation matter from me against the Mara Nomads based on a press release they made on Twitter on 16th of October 2024. So these 2 matters were of course then condensed into one file. Alright then, so where are we with the defamation matters? So you guys are of course aware that we did a hearing on 17th of July, on which date the matter was partly heard, right? I told you guys that we presented our case, and it was the determination of the court that we have another hearing date, which was scheduled for 6th of August. So then what happened on 6th of August? Did we have that hearing? No, we didn't. Why is that? The reason we did not have our hearing on 6th of August, which would have been the day the other parties, the Mara Nomads, would have presented their case, was because of a letter that we received from the Mara Nomads on 23rd July. For that reason, the court gave us another hearing date for this matter, and it is scheduled for 18th of November 2026. All right, that is where we are with the court matters. I'm very glad that I was able to go on the road and do that stretch successfully and come back. And even though I went on the road as an individual, driving around in my 2012 Honda Fit, I feel like I went with the strength of now 15,000 people subscribed to the channel, who in one way or the other participated in the trip by watching, by commenting. Several others contributed, went into their pockets and contributed something to the trip. I met very many other people on the trip that contributed to making it lively. For that reason, I thought it wise to prepare a report. In professional circles, when you go out to do something, when you return, you prepare a report. So I want to take you guys very quickly through the report and then say a few things about the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip. The second stretch of the Kenyan road trip report, prepared by Dennis Uhuru, August 8, 2026. The second stretch of the Kenyan road trip covered a large circular route through western Kenya, the Rift Valley and central Kenya. The journey covered a total distance of 1,488 kilometers. And the total expenditure during the journey was 56,415. And because a trip doesn't happen in a vacuum, that of course is not the total amount of money that was spent. And we'll look at that. There's of course money you spend before going on a trip, and there's money you spend, on your return. Also, there are the expenditures that you spend while you're away. For example, you have to pay rent in your house even if you're not in it. You do not suspend these expenditures just because you're traveling.
I was never the one to write up a song for just anyone. I was always the one to find myself lost in long conversations. Cause I've always been told that things will unfold if you keep on waiting. But then you came along and proved me all wrong. I was so mistaken. Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby.
So, I have a table there breaking down the expenditure during the trip. Of course, the total came to 56,415. But now, let us look at the total cost of the trip and include what was spent before the trip to prepare the car and what was spent after the trip, and also any other expenditures that I might have incurred while I was away. The pre-trip car prep, 5,716. Then of course the total expenditure on the road was 56,415. We've already looked at that. This brings me to what broke down in a yacht during the trip. Inaonekana clear sana. We had two options to fix it. The first was to buy a new heater core. That is very expensive. I didn't have that money to do that. The second option was to bypass that system. That is what we did. We bypassed that system. There are two pipes that go from the radiator to the heater core. Okay, so the first pipe brings in hot coolant from the radiator to the heater core. The second pipe takes it out again and back to the radiator. My cooling system has been great. Coolant doesn't go down in the radiator or in the reservoir tank, and that makes me very happy because that cooling issue has given me a lot of headache. The other thing I did when I returned, for a long time you guys have seen that I use Google Maps directions. I've been seeking a solution for that. You guys know that I have an Android screen in a yacht, but for some reason or other, that Android screen that I had in a yacht does not support Google Maps. So I had to get a replacement. I got an Android screen replacement at around 5,000 Kenyan shillings and traded in my old Android screen. So the total post-trip repairs came to 11,206. Also, while I was away, I had to pay rent, which was 11,500 Kenyan shillings. So the total amount of money I spent on the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip, together with my rent while I was away, was 84,837. But that's not all. While I was on the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip, some of you guys sent me tokens in support. I'm so grateful to those of you that did. So in total, I received 38,598 in support from 30 people. If you take that 38,598 and subtract it from 84,837, which was the total spent during that period, I'm left with 46,239. For that reason, on the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip, I absorbed about 54% of the overall cost, and the support I received covered 45% of my total expenditure. And like I said in the last video, I would not have been able to do the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip without your support. Without the support of these 30 people, I am very grateful, very grateful. Right, let us talk about a few other facts about the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip. I prepared a few notes. I want to thank a few people that contributed to the success of the Kenyan road trip. The very first person I want to thank is my cousin Ben in Kisumu. So he allowed me to stay in his place for I think 3 or 4 days. Thank you very much, Ben, for hosting me. The second person I want to thank for making part of the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip successful is Judith in Kakamega. She gave me a 1-night complimentary stay at a very beautiful Airbnb in Kakamega. The third person I want to thank is Patrick, the camp assistant at Saiwa Swamp. Thank you so much, Patrick, for making my stay in Saiwa Swamp so beautiful. The fourth person I want to thank is Haya in Eldoret. Haya is a lady I met in Eldoret that helped me find the original legit music. And that was a big part of that video. So thank you, Haya, for making that possible. I also want to thank the police officer at Burnt Forest when I left Eldoret to go to Nyahururu. The other person I want to thank is June in Nyeri. June gave me an Airbnb to stay in for 3 days for free. And then also special thanks goes to one Mr. Anthony Ndirangu. This gentleman, every time I published a video on the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip, a few minutes after publishing the video, he would call me and encourage me and tell me what he liked about the video and encourage me to keep going, and that very many people are watching and enjoying the content. And sometimes he would just tell stories, discuss life in Nairobi and very many other things. So thank you so much, Anthony Ndirangu. Special thanks also goes to Magnificent Outdoors. Magnificent Outdoors is a company in Nairobi that deals in camping gear, travel gear, hammocks, camping chairs, camping tables, all manner of camping gear that you can think about. And Magnificent Outdoors gifted me a whole set of camping gear. So very many things. If you want to see everything that Magnificent Outdoors gifted me before the start of the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip to facilitate my camping, you can go watch this video. I think I'll put it here or here. After Magnificent Outdoors, I also want to thank all of you who watched the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip and who commented. Finally, I want to thank the 30 individuals that went into their wallets and sent me a token of support. And those people were, in no particular order, Rafael Masharia, thank you very much. Mr. Anthony Ndirangu, thank you so much. Mr. Paul Mureithi, thank you very much. Mr. Max Norris Dorothy, Mr. James Owur, Mr. Timothy Keter, Mr. Andrew Gichimu, Mr. Rafael Kunga, Miss Caroline Wainaina, Miss Jane Muli, Miss Banis Sainepo, Miss Ohenga Akinyi, Mr. Obed Mogaka, Mr. Geoffrey Ndungu, and then Mr. Timothy Keter, This is the second time Mr. Timothy Keter sent something. So there are a few people that sent a token not once, but sometimes twice or 3 times. So thank you once again, Mr. Timothy Keter, Mr. Patrick Ndiritu, Miss Georgina Obul, Mr. Geoffrey Waweru, Mr. Asterix Kapingo, Mr. Nicholas Ruto, Mr. Edward Kamau, Mr. Alan Arena, Mr. Edward Kamau again, thank you so much, Mr. Timothy Mwangi, Mr. Clinton Nyariki, Mr. Daven Sokemwa, Miss Catherine Okwiri, Mr. Joram Mwangi, Mr. Hiram Obure, Miss Caroline Wainaina. I think Caroline Wainaina is also, this is also the second token she sent. Mr. Alan Arena, again for the second time. Mr. Stephen Mose, and also once again Max Norris, not Dorothy. Thank you very much for your contributions. Without your contributions, the second stretch of the Kenyan road trip would not have gone the way it went. Right, concerning house hunting, I'm currently engaged in house hunting. I'm trying to move out from this place for a few reasons. I'm looking for a 1-bedroom house, but I'm learning that the housing situation in Nairobi is very unfriendly. Very unfriendly. I've gone to Utawala, walked around. Somebody looked at me in that place and with a lot of confidence told me that a 1-bedroom house was 27,000 Kenyan shillings. And I thought about it and I said, what do you mean? But of course, that is the housing situation in Nairobi. I went to Ruiru, I think, a place called Matangi. Very good houses in that place. The only problem is getting there. The condition of the road is such that you would think you are off-roading when going home. They say that the things you own at some point start owning you. So for example, because I now have a yacht, I have to consider it before I am able to stay in any given place. No matter how nice a house is or how cheap it is, if I can't get there, if the access roads to that place are not friendly to a yacht, I cannot stay in that place. I went to Kiambu, a place called Tindigwa and Kirigiti. Tindigwa is so beautiful, so quiet, but the houses there, of course, are also very expensive. Kirigiti, I wasn't able to find what I was looking for as well, but I keep looking. And then with regards to house hunting and looking at the status of rent, it sort of educated me on the disparity between the realities of life in Nairobi and the amount that is expected by landlords to be paid as rent. And of course, I know that landlords are private businessmen who put up their houses and are looking for a return on their investment. But I also feel that it has to marry with the reality of life. And at some point, it is even difficult to blame landlords because I feel that the housing situation in Nairobi has been infiltrated by money launderers, especially in places like Kilimani and other affluent areas of Nairobi. And before you think that rent in Kilimani does not affect rent in Utawala or Umoja or Ruiru or Ngong or anywhere else in Nairobi, think again. Because the problem with the money laundering and what it does to the housing situation is, if a money launderer puts up a house, right? All they are looking for is how to get their dirty money into the banking system. They are not looking for rent, really. They already have money. And so they have no problem charging exorbitant amounts of money for rent. I'll paint for you a picture. A money launderer has 100 million Kenyan shillings, or 200 or 300. They put up a house in Kilimani, for example, and say the rent for a 1-bedroom house is 150,000 Kenyan shillings. for 100,000 Kenyan shillings, right? What happens? The other genuine developer next to that person looks at this establishment that is charging 100,000 for a one-bedroom house, and because that is the going rate for one-bedroom houses, he doesn't feel so bad charging 70,000 for his own one-bedroom house, right? Because it's like, if people are able to pay 100,000 in that place, why should they not pay 70,000 or 80 or 90 in my own establishment? And if that is the case, then a landlord in Utawala doesn't feel bad charging 27,000 for his one-bedroom house, because it's like, people are able to pay 70,000, 100,000 for one-bedroom units in Kilimani. Why should they not pay 27,000 for my own unit in Utawala, right? And a landlord in Umoja also looks at that and says, all right then, let me charge 18,000 Kenyan shillings for a one-bedroom house in Umoja, because if people are paying 27,000 in Utawala, why should they not pay 18,000 in Umoja, right? And that is what happens when an essential service like housing is infiltrated by these shady characters. You know, I looked at a report from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and the national median income in the country is $2,000 per year. That is what a Kenyan earns on average. That comes down to about 21,000 Kenyan shillings per month. How is this person supposed to live in a decent place, right? How is he able to start a family? How is he able to marry and raise children and take them to school when it is becoming very difficult to find decent living in Nairobi below 15,000 Kenyan shillings? It is becoming very difficult to find decent accommodation in Nairobi at 15,000, below 15,000 Kenyan shillings. How are our young people able to, live? How are they able to pay rent? And tied to this fact is the fact that, I've studied it, and we all know that all animals in the animal kingdom look after and protect their young. All of them. When it comes to us, we are stealing the future of our children. We are making it very difficult as possible for our children to thrive. Last week, as I finish, we had a family event in Nairobi. And so my mom came from the village, and she came with my elder sister Winnie. We had a few other people in the family attending the event, a few aunties of mine, as well as a few cousins. I will not share their images because, of course, they are not YouTubers. But we had that event, and Mom was there, Winnie was there, Junior was there, Ronnie was there, and Ronnie is in Nairobi right now. Ronnie, my small brother. He actually stays with me. He's been staying with me for like maybe 3 weeks now. Right now he's at work, and he goes to work every day, Monday to Friday, and comes back very late in the evening. But back to my story. So we had this family event, and so Sunday, Ronnie and I took Mom and Winnie to Guardian Angel offices in CBD so that they could book their bus back to Sega. But when we were leaving the CBD, it just so happens that there was a march that had taken place, and what that means is there was a massive crowd of young people walking through the CBD. As we were going, you'd see a huge group coming, and all of them would be saying one term and signaling to you to, say one term as well, bring down the windows and say one term. And they'd be smacking on the car, and others would even threaten you, say, jaribu kusema two term hapa utaona. And I looked at that situation and I said, we are going to have a very difficult situation in this country. Because you see, these young people did not care which camp you are in. They didn't even care if you are a supporter of one term like they are. They didn't even care whether you had a pregnant woman in the car, whether you had your mother, whether you had your baby, whether you had they did not care. who you are, where you are going. You know, you had to say what they were saying. If you are elected in government, you are not elected for yourself. You're not elected to make yourself and your village people rich. You are elected to look after the future of this country, to look after the future of our children. You're elected to do your best to bring about the best possible future for the young people who make up about 70% of this country. And if you do not represent these people, the country will go to the dogs. Because who can stand up to the mob? Who can control the mob? You do not want to be in that situation. I'm telling you. Who will protect you when the mob comes for you? And you know, I looked at that situation and I said, we also need to educate our young people, to educate ourselves, to be politically tolerant of one another. Because demanding that people say one term as they're using the road is not very far from burning tires on the road, and that is also not very far from demanding that people pay monies to use the road, you know, and that is also not very far from getting people out of their cars and slaughtering them. And that has happened in this country. I'm not talking about things that have not happened. People have been pulled out of their cars and killed before in this country. Not even because of what they were supporting politically, but because of where they were coming from or the communities they belonged to. As a young person, you need to understand who you are angry at and who you are frustrated at. And then you keep those frustrations aimed at that person and not aimed at anyone else. Because I have not stolen your money, right? And the same is true for all other Kenyans on the road. Is that they're just like you. They have their own frustrations. We cannot now begin to fight one another and lose focus of what we are supposed to be doing. And what we are supposed to be doing is going and getting those registration, those voters cards. And then when the next election comes, you go and, you know, express your political ideology in the ballot box. So if you're a leader, remember who you are representing. Okay? Remember who put you where you are. Remember that you also have children and you want the best for them. And then remember that this country is mostly made up of young people who you should be representing, who you should be looking at as your children. I know we started from the cost of rent and we have somehow ended up here, but that is fine. We need to have these conversations. At this point, let us do the freedom comment of the week and then bring this video to a close. By Lil Ree. I'm very glad you've made it back, Freedom Boy. I've really enjoyed the views of our beautiful country. Hope I'll be next to hit the road in my car. I'm really investing to get my car soon. Pray for me too. May God answer your prayers, bro. You really inspire me so much and I've learned that patience pays. You can come to Utawala, kuna manyumba fiti sana. Lil Ree, yeah? Text me with a few of those houses on WhatsApp. Undo Victor said, my role model, don't forget to acknowledge me, please. Thank you, Undo Victor, for your viewership and for your support. The date today is 13th of August 2026, Thursday. On Saturday, 15th, I will have my second video editing masterclass. I'm preparing for that. I think up to this point, I have about 7 people that have elected to come to the event. And I'm preparing and I hope that it goes well. But thank you so much, guys, for watching up to this point. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking the video. And thank you for your continued support. As always, I'll be seeing you in the next video.